This is Unequal with your hosts, Jaycee Carroll and Ajay Salveson.
Hi, welcome to another edition of the Unequal Podcast. I'm Ajay Salveson alongside Aggie Hall of Famer Jaycee Carroll, one of the greatest to ever put on any sort of an Aggie uniform of any sport. And joining us today is another Aggie Hall of Famer and one of the greatest to put on an Aggie basketball jersey and a local guy, which makes it just as even better for me and to watch him in high school and how incredible he was. Jalen Moore joins us here on Equal. Jalen, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good. Jalen, it's great to have you. Hey, update us a little bit about your life right now. We don't get to see or hear a lot from you, but we know you're really busy.
Yeah, just been mainly busy doing like basketball trainings, some like skills groups training, individual trainings, but as well as doing travel basketball teams, some AAU. Been busy playing on the Puma circuit and stuff like that with our team. So that's mainly what I do from like March to July. Those 6 months I'll stay pretty busy with our teams. The rest of the time we're doing our skill work in our groups, individuals, certain teams. Like we'll have certain parents and stuff like that that'll ask us to come work out their teams. Maybe it's comp teams in the winter, whatever it may be. So that kind of stuff. And then obviously just doing pre and post game for Utah State games when the basketball season's going on.
You were
stuff like
so
that.
fun to listen to.
Thank
The
you.
character. I listened to you on KVNU 610 AM. And your analysis is incredible. I want to ask both of you a question, Jalen and Jaycee. AAU ball has been taking a huge hit on social media from a lot of people. Like, hey, it's a poisonous. It's all about me. There is no teamwork. There is no development as to working with a team. It's all about just trying to get your individual name and your highlight out there. Is that becoming more the case, or is that something you guys are trying to fight with to help kids learn to continue to play as a team?
Mm-hmm. I try to teach them to play as a team mainly because I think winning's big. Like I think if you want to get more looks and get recruited more, you have to win as a team. I think that's going to attract more coaches to come watch teams. Teams that are better, teams that win, more teams that win play together.
Yeah.
Obviously you're getting the best players from a lot of schools and trying to put them on one team, right? So you kind of got to make roles and egos and stuff, where kids maybe they were the best team on their high school team, but now they got to come together and play with other girls or boys that are just as good as them.
Yeah.
And you got to try to make it work, so that's the fun part is like trying to make it work and play as a team. Obviously, basketball's hard. It's not an equal opportunity sport and stuff like that. So some girls are going to get, more looks, maybe look a little bit better and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, if you want to get looks and stuff like that, you got to win as a team. And I think that'll attract some coaches. Therefore, now you can play better individually, but not every coach. It's hard to. I try to tell kids in this generation because all of them want to score. You know what I mean? And a lot of colleges now, especially with the transfer portal and stuff like that, they got easier ways to try to find kids or older guys or girls that can put the ball in the hoop. So now sometimes it might be they need a defender, they need someone that can facilitate, they need someone that's a leader, that's someone that's vocal. So I try to teach our kids like, hey, it's about putting the ball in the hoop, but at the same time, there's a lot of different things that coaches are looking for because a lot of them will already have kids that can put the ball in the hoop. Now they just need ways to mesh their team and become a whole team. And so I try to make sure like, hey, yeah, we got to shoot open shots, you got to make shots and that kind of stuff, but make the right play too. That's what a lot of coaches are going to want to see. So that's what I try to teach our kids too is like, hey, be aggressive, take the open shot, make moves, showcase what you're capable of, but at the same time, you got to make the right play. I don't want to see kids shooting when there are 2 or 3 guys on them and stuff. Make the right play, make the extra pass, rebound, run the court, talk, show good body language. I think that's a big thing that coaches want to see, So those are the kind of things that I try to teach our kids to do, as well as like showcasing that you can score the ball as well. So that's kind of how the outlook that I take on it, and I think so far it's been pretty successful and most people have like a good experience with it and stuff like that too. So it's been good so far.
Jaycee, I want to ask you, AAU ball is really competitive. So for Bella, your daughter, who's a star at Mountain Crest High School, is AAU ball more, does it help her develop better or quicker than it does in high school girls basketball here in the Valley?
No. No. AAU, for me, I just see it as a place where you're able to get in front of more coaches and a more concentrated time. I don't think it develops players. We try. I'm coaching a team, just one team, for the first time. This is my first, and I'll see what this whole experience looks like. But honestly, we're we have 2 practices a week, Friday, Saturday. And yeah, we do the best we can. But in the end, we're not working on developing skills. We're working on developing team concepts and taking a bunch of girls from different schools and getting them to play cohesively together. So there's not a lot of team development, or I'm sorry, individual development, but team development. And I do like what Jalen said. I think as far as the selfishness that could go into AAU, if you have a coach that holds girls accountable to playing good basketball, you can. The problem is there's not enough coaches that hold kids accountable or just like, hey, let's go get it, throw the ball, and then let's go. I've been really, really excited, happy with my little group of girls, how well they share the ball. And we scrimmage every week against the 17U team and the 15U team, and we're consistently beating them. And the message is because you girls share the ball better than other girls, or better than those other teams. And they do. I've been super impressed with this group of girls, how well they share it. So if coaches will hold the kids accountable, game experience, great game experience. What you need, game reps and all that kind of stuff for sure. But for me, I spent 13 years in Europe. European model, 7 practices, 1 game. These Spanish kids, they're playing disadvantaged basketball all day long. Try kick, looking for the open play, looking for the open shot. They all shoot, pass, and dribble. And I love putting that time and effort to teaching kids that way.
What would you rather prefer, the 7 practices, 1 game, or 3 games and 1 practice? What would you phrase it?
No, I think it's a little combination of both. I think Europe's on kind of one extreme and we're on the other extreme. I think the happy place is somewhere in the middle. Like let's have 4 practices and then 2 games. Let's have 5 practices and 2 games. Something like that would be kind of my ideal scenario. I know it's hard why we get kids in school. Again, I'm looking in Europe where these kids are basically in the basketball academy, that they go to school with their team and then they go to practice with their team after. They live in a residence like a college campus. Like, it's hard to do that when you have a girl from Arizona and a girl from Idaho and 5 girls from southern Utah and then 2 girls from up here. You can't do that. Like, ideally, we'd get them all. They come live here in a house behind my house. They go to school together. They practice together. Then we could get 5 practices before the 7 games. But it's just not doable.
Jalen, you're with 12 teams. What is the most common message you get from coaches or in the regards of feedback about these camps and about the development things or what kids need to work on and such? What's the biggest feedback you get?
Just mainly a big thing here, I think, is just like aggressiveness. I think I see that a lot from other places, to be honest. Like when we go play other states and kids from other states, I just think they're just naturally a little bit more aggressive, So that's why I also try to teach them. I think it's good because I like Jaycee said, I wish we practice a little bit more too, but we're the same way, Friday, Saturday, and then you go to a tournament and play 4 games, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a little bit different. There's certain situations where it can get sloppy and stuff like that. Whereas a coach, I'm like, gosh, I wish I could have more time to teach them this kind of thing. So, but I think that's the biggest thing for me is like just teaching them to be aggressive and showcase that they can compete at like a high level with kids from other states. That was the biggest thing for me. I think kids in our area, like when you think of Utah, they think like, hey, kids can play in Salt Lake and St. George, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like when you think of the state, and I'm like, there's a lot of kids in our valley that can play, but they might not have the chance to showcase what they're capable of doing, right? So that's another reason why I wanted to start it too, is like, I want to take kids from here, maybe take them to somewhere, like we go to Kansas, we go to Cal, whatever it could be, and showcase like, hey, we can play with kids from Texas, we can play with kids from Florida and play with kids from Canada or whatever it may be. And I think that's a big thing. But a lot of times I think at first it's like a shock to them because they see kids that, don't look like them. They look maybe a little bit more, they're more aggressive. They're maybe a little bit more built, that kind of stuff, And I try to tell them like, hey, these are kids that like, some of them basketball like their life, this is what they want to do. If you guys want to play in college and stuff, like these are the kids that you're going to be competing against, right? If you want to try to get noticed, if you want to try to get love from college coaches, you got to showcase that you can go and compete with these type of kids, And I think that's where a lot of kids in my program have benefited from because they can see the difference of levels. And I think Utah has good basketball. I really do. I think kids here are smart. I think that's one thing we have is like I think the IQ of kids in Utah is high compared to some other places that I see. But then the athleticism is where it kind of evens it out a little bit. I think kids are a little bit more aggressive. They talk a little bit more. They deny and they play pressure man defense. And a lot of kids here are like, oh, it's different for them and try to figure that out at first, But I think after a few tournaments, 1 or 2 tournaments, they kind of get in that mode like, okay, like we can be a little bit more aggressive. And then we start beating some teams where I'm like, okay, like we probably shouldn't beat that team, but like we win games, so it's good. But I also think it comes down to, like JC said, I also play a lot of teams where they have 1 or 2 good kids who kind of, that's who the team is. Give them the ball, let them shoot, like let them make plays. And of course that kid will have a good game, but at the end of the day, we end up beating them because I've got 4 kids that maybe score 10, 12 points, but they make the right play. They make the extra pass. They rebound well. They run the court. Like we said, I think JC does the same thing. I try to teach him like the actual game and like how to understand it, how to make the correct reads rather than just like, hey, roll the ball out and let's play, And I see a lot of teams that do that, which is fine. It works for some people if you have the athletes and stuff that can do it, of course, but I want them to be able to like, hey, if I want to go to college, they can go to college. They've maybe ran some drills that we've taught them. They maybe know the terminology that they're going to learn in college. That way they're not like just sitting there confused trying to figure out what's going on. I'm trying to teach them that stuff ahead of time before they get to college. Therefore, it kind of all just meshes together. Because I remember as a freshman, at times I was lost in certain areas and stuff like that. So I'm trying to help them, bridge that gap that's there where they can go in as freshmen and hopefully start playing and understanding and being productive when they get there kind of thing. So
that answer. JC, are you excited to kind of see what your girls can do against the South Carolina? I guess we're going to South Carolina, right? Yeah. I mean, to see what they can do against pure talent, if you will, outside of the state that, as he says, plays more aggressive, maybe different defense and such.
Jeff? Very excited. I'm excited to see kind of what it looks like because I didn't do much AAU. I didn't travel last year with Bella. I didn't go watch her play anywhere. They did a Salt Lake tournament. I went down to that. I just kind of let her do her thing because she gets a lot of dad. She gets a lot of me in basketball. So I just kind of want to give her a chance to get out there, get some space. But if you take a little bit more, I don't know what the right word is, a more whole look at AU. I did like what Jalen said, that these kids get out and get to see other parts of the country. Might be the first time some of these kids have done that. You get to go on a campus tour. I don't remember Bella last year. They went to College Station. Was that Texas A&M?
Yeah.
They did a campus tour at Texas A&M, and she was like, that's really cool. They just start to see the other opportunities that are out there. Obviously, she sees Utah State. She sees what's here right in front of her face. But to see other ways that the world works and other places that she could go, for that, I think there's value to it as well.
How about that? You were talking about when you were a freshman. Let's start back to when you were a freshman here at Skyview High School, local guy. Your experience playing at Skyview, you obviously had one of the greatest shots ever in high school basketball history in the state of Utah against some guy named Sam Merrill. I don't know, I've never heard of him. But start with from your freshman year in high school, where you developed your game. What was some of the things that stood out to you about your development from your freshman year to your senior year in high school?
I think a lot of it, big time, was just like maturity as well, and like getting taller, getting bigger. I thought was big, but then also I put in work a lot. Obviously, like JC has too, it's different when you have a parent like my dad that had played at a high level and coached at a high level, so he kind of knows what it took, to get better. And hopefully, like, my goal always was like, hey, Dad, I want to play college basketball, wherever it may be. And he's like, okay, well, it's going to take hard work. And from then on, like, he's the one that kind of pushed me to understand what it takes to get there, and that's working out all the time, working out basketball wise. And it's weird because even the game has changed a lot since I've even played in high school. Like my senior year, I think I had 14 like threes total the whole season because like I was 6'7", athletic, could just drive. But then I knew like, hey, I know going from my senior year to my freshman year at Utah State, like that's another gap that I'm going to have to bridge is that jump shot. And I've seen how the 3-point line has just changed a lot, and so it's weird because I remember I wasn't really a shooter in high school, and then, but at the same time it was hard because I didn't have to necessarily, right? I could make moves and get to the rim and shoot floaters and pull-ups and that kind of stuff. And then I knew like, hey, I was dominant at high school, but then I know that I'm going to have to pretty much restart all the way back over my freshman year in college, right? And I knew, hey, there's a couple guys that play in front of me. They're not that. If I can develop a 3-point shot, like I probably can get some playing time as a freshman coming in. So that was where that was a big development I did between, I would say, like my junior year of high school and senior year to my freshman year, is like just developing like a consistent 3-point shot also, high school three is pretty close. You got to work on like backing up and all that kind of stuff. But that was my biggest thing, is like consistency in probably shooting. I think my athleticism and like driving to the rim and stuff had always been there. The ability to like draw fouls and stuff. But I think my biggest thing that I had to work on was just consistency with a jump shot. And so that was the area that I really like focused on the most. And I think that's like the biggest improvement that I would say that I made probably from even my senior year of high school to my freshman year of college even. So
I got to ask you about one of my favorite human beings in the world, Kirk Hillier. He was our freshman basketball coach.
Okay.
I was at the very end of the bench. There was the whole team, a big gap, and then there was me at the bench. And he became one of my most favorite people. I love Kirk Hillier for so many reasons. Can I ask what it was like to play with him or underneath him at Skyview?
yeah, and it was awesome. I played for him my senior year at Skyview. So my main team, Coach Anderson. That was So those are my main 2 years that I played, and it was awesome. He taught me great things, but also at the same time, like I got to, even though I was like the biggest kid, he wasn't always like, hey, we're just gonna put you under the hoop. Like he was able to let me bring the ball up the court, handle it, make plays. And I really thank him for that, because I see a lot of kids that now that are big and they can handle it and shoot, but I'm like, a lot of times they're the biggest kids, so they play a center or something like that, and I'm like, you can do a lot of things. I want to see you be a basketball player, and I think that was the biggest thing for me, is he let me do that my junior and senior year, even though I'm 6'7" or whatever, biggest kid on the team. Like he's like, hey, I want you to break the press. I want you to bring the ball up the court. So it was good. I still was able to play like a 3, which is like, I think, my natural position at the time. And it was very beneficial for me that he was able to let me like, learn on the job of ball handling, maybe defending guys that are smaller than me, that kind of stuff. I thought that was super beneficial for me.
I want to get Jaycee involved here in just a moment, but I do want to ask you about the shot. Half-court shot, ends up on Sports Center, ends up everywhere. I don't know if John Newble was on the call, or it was Brad Stone, but I knew them going absolutely nuts. Did you ever see this shot? I know you were.
I saw the shot.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have any inkling that was actually going to go in?
No, I was so lucky. So lucky. Every time people ask me, like, do you know? I'm like, no. I was like, we were already in overtime. I had the ball, and I'm like, dude, our second best player had just fouled out. So I'm like, I mean, if we go into another overtime, like, we're in trouble, Sam was having a really good game, and they had the Celius kid as well that was solid back then that ended up at BYU. Yeah, they were. So they both were having a good game, and I remember Ty Nilsson that was on our team. He's like another good player with us, and he had just fouled out with like, a minute or two left in overtime, and I'm like, dude. I'm like, we're in trouble. Yeah, we're in trouble. So I'm like, if we go in another overtime, like, I remember I just got the ball at half court and I had a look, I had time on the clock, threw it up. That was it. It went in. So
did you beat Mountain Crest for the state?
Yeah, we beat Mountain Crest in the state championship.
And what's enough dad was so upset. I was happy because it was Kirk Hillier, and I love Kirk.
Who was on that Mountain Crest team?
Would have been like,
was that Eights or was it Caressa?
Would have been like Crosby, Tyler Crosby, Eddie Hall,
they were talented.
Yoroni. He ended up going and playing football at BYU. He's really good at BYU, tight end and stuff. Yeah, but he changed his name to like back to, so it's like La Lulu. That guy. That
Mountain Crest team was talented.
Yeah.
They were better coached.
Yeah.
They were much better coached.
Yeah, it was solid. It was a good game. It was like a 5-point game, close the whole time, the whole state tournament. It was awesome. It was at Weaver State, so I think that's like one of the better places that they like actually host
too.
Yeah, like it's small enough to where the atmosphere is like, it's awesome. I think you get into places kind of like UVU and SUU that are a little bit more open, a little bit bigger. I liked it up at Utah State too, honestly. I thought Utah State, Weaver State, they did a good job there. But yeah, it was a great atmosphere. It was like sold out. Like Bountiful had their whole student section there. We had our whole student section. And then Mountain Crest the same way. It was awesome. It was an awesome time, yeah.
Did you know of Jalen? I mean, I know you were getting kind of. Were you overseas by this point when he started at Utah State, Jaycee?
Yeah. What was your first year?
13, 14, yeah.
So I was well gone by then.
Yeah.
5 years out.
Did you know of Jaycee? I mean, I know your dad was Utah State, so you probably already heard of Jaycee.
We used to go to every home game when I was a kid, me and Grayson and my dad.
Oh, so yeah, him.
Yeah, so we used to see him and Ty and Gary and all them play like we wouldn't miss a home game growing up because that was mine and Grayson's goal. It was like we want to play at Utah State, so we didn't want to miss a home game. I wanted to play for Stu so bad, growing up, and knowing my dad played there and stuff too. I was like, that's what I want to do. So as kids, we went to every home game. We didn't miss. We used to see them play all the games at home. So
for you when did you get a chance to watch Utah State basketball? I know you're overseas, and so you're pretty busy playing in Europe already. Then I don't know what the coverage was like for you to be able to go watch. Did you get to see Jalen at all play, or you?
Yeah, I'd see definitely. I see highlights. I'd be able to get the big games online and stuff like that. So yeah, had a chance to see. He had a great career. Did a great.
Had incredible hair too. I mean, him and Sean Harrod for
Yep.
what was it on? Was that ESPN Magazine?
Yeah.
ESPN Magazine about their hair.
Yep.
About their hair, like you could have gone to NIL.
That's what I'm saying nowadays. I'm like, I was thinking about that on the way over here. I'm like, me and JC would have been loaded back.
Oh,
If it was how it is now, I'm like, shoot, we would have. I'm like, golly, dude, some of the money these kids make now. I'm like, geez.
Any pressure from your dad? I mean, or pressure just your dad being Jimmy Moore and the incredible man he is. Was there any pressure about playing at Utah State with his name not being in the shadow? I guess.
Not necessarily. Like, he was really chill about. I think once I got a little bit older, he saw that there was potential there to play at like the next level. But he wasn't ever like a guy that just, hey, this is what you have to do. You know, he kind of let me make the decision. I pretty much told him as a kid, like, hey, if I get an offer from like Utah State, I'm most likely going to take it, because my biggest thing is like, I want to play where he played, but like at the same time, that was like my goal. Is like, I want to be better than you when I get there, though. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have a better career, but like, because I know how good his career was, right? So I knew if I were trying to manage myself and make myself similar to the career he had, or try to be better than that, like, I knew that that's going to be a very good college career, you know, and I was able to do that, which was awesome. I think that was the biggest satisfying thing for my dad, is like, he was like, I want to see you also be better than me too, but it's going to take work, you know, because I mean, I go out and see random people like, hey, your dad, do you ever see your dad play? I'm like, I wish, but it's like, they didn't have film, like the film and stuff back then that I could see and stuff. So I've just heard all the stories about how good he was, how athletic he was, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, so as a kid growing up, I'm like, I want to be just like that or better, you know, because then I'll end up having a very solid basketball career at Utah State. But he was also very chill in the fact that he would work me out and push me hard, but at the same time, at the end of the day, he'd let it be my decision of wanting to pursue basketball and be good at it, you know, and push myself. So it was very good. It was like a common ground, but at the same time, like, you know, it's a dad. There was after games, he's telling me stuff. We're butting heads, and I'm like, gosh, you know. But at a player, I see it from a different point of view than my dad used to when he was watching. Right? That's something I've also learned from probably you too, JC. It's so different being able to see everything from the outside as like a coach or a, you know, someone that watches rather than a player that's like, I'm in the game and it's intense and stuff. Like, so we used to butt heads because I'm like, what are you talking about? I played hard. I did all this, you know, but he's like, no, you could have done this. I'm like, whatever, you know. I'm also a teenager at the time, so like we're butting heads. But at the same time, now when I go back and look at it, I'm like, okay, I can see the different way that you were viewing the game compared to me as being a player playing it, you know. So that was a good thing of a learning point for me too, is I just had to be able to step back and look at it from a different standpoint than a player all the time too. And I think that helped me elevate it as well.
So what was your recruiting story? When did Stu approach you? Who approached you? And how long did it take for you to say yes?
Stu approached me first, sophomore year. Hadn't played a second of varsity yet in high school. I went up to a Utah State team camp, and I was just dominating, you know. And I remember I watched Stu in the doorway, and then after that, he's like, hey, I want to meet with you and your family in my office. I'm like, okay, sounds good. And so he was just like, hey, you know, I'm about to do something I've never done. I'm going to offer you like a full ride, and you haven't played a second of varsity. And I'm like, all right, so that sounds good. I'm 14, 15 years old, just in between, you know, in June. And I'm like, okay, you know, give me some time to think on it. And they're like, okay. And then, I mean, it took like a week decision. I'm like, I'm going there. Yeah. I'm like, I'll go there, you know. So I ended up committing there once I was able to verbally commit there. So my junior year. Okay. And then I signed, you know, my senior year to go there. But I knew those last 2-3 years that like, hey, that's what I wanted to do. So I ended up just being around the program a little bit more and all that kind of stuff. And
who else contacted you?
I had good looks like Santa Barbara, Gonzaga, most of the Utah teams, you know, Weber State, SUU, Utah, like those kind of teams. And then once there was that coaching change, I had a few other teams that, you know, back to like Baylor and them that were trying to get me to transfer and stuff like that. But I was just like, hey, this is where I want to be. You know, I want to play in front of my parents where they can see my friends. And then it was awesome because Grayson was able to come back and transfer from the D2 he was at and play. So we ended up being able to play for like a year or so together, you know, so it ended up working out.
It's pretty rare, and correct me if I'm wrong here, JC, it's pretty rare that Coach Moore will start freshmen at Utah State. It's just something that he doesn't do. He did it with you, and it paid off in tremendous ways. I want to ask both of you a question because you We're one of 4 Aggies to play all 32 games. And I think you both are one of, I think, 5 Aggie, or maybe less than that actually, under Morrill to play every game as a freshman, or at least start every game as a freshman. So I'll start with you, JC. What was the biggest jump from high school to Division I basketball that you had to make as an adjustment? You're like, wow, this is a lot different here in not Wyoming.
This is gonna sound arrogant.
Do it.
I was ready. I don't know how to say it.
When did you know you were ready?
The biggest move, I mean, so I got back and from my mission, and in my mind, it would have been my junior year if I didn't do a mission. And so I just took the attitude that I'm gonna act like I've been here for 3 years. I'm gonna expect to play like I've been like this is my junior year, and I'm gonna work to earn that spot. Doesn't matter who's there. Now that freshman year, I was blessed with a really good team that moved the ball really well and had good passers with, David Pack was a good passer. Spencer Nelson was a great passer. And so as long as I was in the right spots, I got the opportunities to score the basketball. And I knew how to get to the right spots. I just did. Now, I did learn, if there was anything I had to make an adjustment to, was between my sophomore and junior at Utah State.
Okay.
Because my freshman year, I had the benefit of having really good teammates, and I pretty much had to catch and shoot a high percentage of 3-pointers. My sophomore year, teams figured me out a little bit. We went to a better conference, and I couldn't just catch and shoot. I couldn't just come up. I had to develop a mid-range game. So between my sophomore and junior years, maybe if you're saying, hey, where is the biggest thing I learned? Between my sophomore and junior year, it's like, okay, I can make threes. What happens when that's taken away? What do I have to do? Now I worked really hard to be able to do that. So that'd be where the biggest adjustment came for me.
What about you?
Freshman year, first weight room was the biggest for me. Like basketball wise, I was good. Like JC said, like I understood the game enough to where like I can go and play with the highest level. But the weight room was like I was like from Skyview. I was just this little skinny guy, and I used to walk in there and see these guys moving weight. I'm like, I'm in the wrong spot, dude. Like, what am I doing? But that was the biggest thing, and it just being so sore, as like and trying to go do workouts. I was like, the weight room was so tough. That was the hardest thing for me. My freshman year was like mainly, obviously going and playing for a guy like Stu too was awesome, but he was the first coach I ever had that was bigger than me too. You know what I'm saying? So like when he did he was the first guy I ever had to like look up to. I'm like, he's a big dude getting mad at me, So that was the biggest thing is like I think the intensity of like the coaching and practices in like the weight room. But that took me, luckily you start doing that stuff in the summer, right? So I had those like 2-3 months ahead of time that I was able to make that adjustment in time to be ready to play by the time October came, So I think that was the biggest thing. Obviously, I had a few situations where a couple guys in front of me got hurt, right? So I ended up having to, about 8 games in, I had to start as a freshman, because I had some guys get hurt in front of me. But I also knew that was the part too where I was kind of telling you guys that was the gap that I also bridged, was like, hey, I got to be able to shoot a 3-pointer, and I can expand the court a little bit more than these other guys that maybe play in front of me, and be a little bit more consistent. So Coach Morrill and them need a 4. I played the 4 for like my first 3 years. I was like, hey, if they need a 4 that can stretch the floor and can shoot a little bit more, I know that's where I'm going to find that spot and be able to play a little bit more, So I just used to always just work on that all the time. And it ended up paying off, and I ended up starting, about a little bit earlier than halfway through the season as a freshman and stuff like that. But that was the biggest thing for me, is just like the intensity, the weight room and stuff like that was the biggest thing for me. But once I got that figured out, I thought the basketball stuff was kind of just something that I had already known. So I think it was more of like the physical weight room and that kind of stuff was just the biggest difference for me. So
I think I asked you, go ahead. No, and I like that. That's something I don't think people realize. I mean, the weight room is huge. Like they destroy you. Then like, all right, go shoot shots or go play pickup. Like,
yeah.
But even when you get into a season, you watch these guys running around the court, and they all just look like completely healthy. But so many things hurt.
Yeah,
you just play uncomfortable most of the season. Coach had me run so many baseline cuts that I just had these crazy calluses on my heels from just running on the edges of my heels, running these baseline cuts that those hurt every day for the first hour of practice until they finally like got enough sweat that they turned soft. Like, there's just so many little things that just the good players just played through these little aches and pains that no one in the stands ever realizes.
But then that was you too, because if I remember, you did not miss a game, right? Your freshman year. How much weight did you guys gain or muscle did you guys put on from your freshman year?
40 pounds probably.
Oh.
I was about 220 my senior year, and when I got there, it was like 175, 180 out of high school. So like 40 pounds probably.
Quite a bit. Wow.
So I gained, I put on, it sucked. It sucked because they're like, hey, your workout's done, and here's a protein shake. I'm like, dude, I already pounded 2 of them today, you know, but they're trying to make you gain weight and stuff. So it was crazy. But by the time I was like junior, senior year, like I felt good though. Like I was probably the weight I should have been playing at, you know, but it's hard as a kid. You're growing up still and still maturing and stuff. You know, I came in as a 17 as a freshman because I have a late birthday, so I didn't turn 18 until August. Yeah, you know, so I had a really late birthday. So my whole like summer career, I'm 17 years old, still trying to figure everything out, you know. But then by that time, once I put on weight and stuff, I felt good. But you're playing through aches and pains all the time. So
did you put on any muscle or
what?
Did you put on any muscle when you got to Utah State, or did you?
Yeah, put on muscle. but the weight transformation was not the same for me. I graduated high school at 175. I played at 185, 183. Mm-hmm. But and I had some coaches, like we had Coach Ware. He'd always say, "JC, we got to get you like 205. 205. I'm like, okay, 205, okay. I go sit with Coach Uyama, who was the coach at that time. He went on to be the strength and conditioning for the 49ers. He said, hey, man, do I need to get my weight? He goes, well, let me ask you a couple questions. Are you strong? Well, in the weight room, I could push as much weight as anyone. Do you feel you get pushed around on the court? It's like, no. He goes, then no. Weight's just a number. Are you strong? Can you handle the contact? Yeah. All right, you're good. So that was my weight story.
I think I asked you about this, and really there was no really kind of a bully moment for you on the court in regards of like your welcome to Aggie moment, because they just realized you were pretty good when you got on the court. Ty Wesley, as he calls it, Geppetto, you know, he was like, actually, this kid's pretty good, you know. But off the court, they kind of give it to you. Was there a welcome to Aggie moment for you on the court that was like, ooh, boy?
And who were the bigs that got injured?
Like Ben Clifford would have been, and Kyle Davis at the time were hurt. I mean, Ben had, I can't remember what Ben was hurt with. Kyle had some knee injuries, like issues, like kind of the whole season. That Kyle Davis, he only played here for a year. Then he transferred after.
Send him to Salford.
Yep. And so then he transferred after my freshman year. Kyle did. So he's only here for 1 year. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I was able to get into that, you know, starting spot in between. And then after that, I just started the rest of my career from sophomore to, but yeah, I mean, the moment I had is like, I remember I was playing, first off, I'm playing like a 4. I'm kind of feeling like out of position because I'm trying to gain weight. And my biggest thing is like, do you guys remember Jared Shaw that played here?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
I was like coming over on help defense, and this is like in the preseason, and I remember he came over and like caught the ball and turned with his elbow and hit my nose and just broke it, like right in practice. I was like, I felt it and everything just break. Right.
You've had some breaking noses in practice at Aggie. I don't get it.
I was just in the wrong spot, and I was like, yeah, and this is just. So I'm like leaning over the garbage, just blood running out and stuff, and like we have the trainer down there putting stuff in my nose, and you know how Coach Marl is like, hey, is he gonna be ready to go? Like 20 minutes? I'm sitting there like, I don't. The trainer's like, nah, I don't think so. I had to like get surgery the next day. It was so bad, actually. Like he broke it like pretty bad. So I had to get surgery, play with a mask and stuff my freshman year. But it was funny because Coach Morrill was that same way about injuries too. He's just, and you're good. You can play through it, you know. Like
same with you, right?
Yeah.
Oh, like it was no mercy because you had ankle injuries, didn't you?
Yeah, I had some severe ankle sprains, and I played with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were swollen. They were black and blue, and we just taped it up. And oh man.
The myth of Stu Morrill is that he was really, really grumpy during the time of JC's year, Spencer Nilsson, you know, Tony Brown and those guys, and he supposedly softened up.
He got more chill on it.
Your freshman year.
Yeah.
Is that true?
They have facial hair, and yeah. And they got nice more.
Yeah, definitely more relaxed. It was still more intense than anything we've seen, right, coming from high school. But from what I've seen, because I've been to all the team camps, seen them play as when they were kids. Yeah, he definitely relaxed a little bit more for sure by the time my freshman year came about.
Your sophomore year, you started 31 games.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. You were named second team All Mountain West. The 2014 World Vision Classic, is that the former Gossamer Classic?
Yeah.
Did you actually enjoy that? Because you guys were playing like high school teams. Like
Yeah, no, not we would. There was like one where you had a team out of the three that we'd play. So
It's sort of a waste of pitch.
No, I like playing basketball. I didn't care who you put out there.
You guys weren't playing anybody
I
else.
don't care who you put out there. I was going to enjoy myself. You could put whoever,
But you
have to watch it.
Did it make you guys? It didn't make you guys better though, did it?
What? Why would it not make you better? You're running your plays. You play against people like that's just a common. It's a thing I hear people. Oh, they're not. That doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
That's garbage. I get something out of any time I step on the court. I can go down and play with my daughter and my 7-year-old son, and I will get something out of that practice that will make me better. That's something I hate hearing. This doesn't even help. Now, great. Did the fans want to see the game? Okay, maybe not. But I'm going to get something out of it.
You guys always played the late game too, weren't you guys? Like, what was it, 8 o'clock late game?
Of course. Yeah. Time. Sorry. Time.
You scored double digits in nearly all those, but 2 of those games that year. There was a streak of 18 straight from November 19th to January 24th that you scored double figures in each game. Was that year I figured it out? Was that the year you figured it out in college basketball, Division I level?
yeah, for sure. Going from like my freshman to sophomore year, I think also I got more like playing time, right? So I knew that my production was going to have to go up too if I wanted to retain that amount of time that I was playing, right? But I think the jump I went from was like 4.5, 5 points to 15 or something like that. So in that year span. So, but I also, like I said, I also think I got better as a shooter too. I was able to, like JC said, you go out there and hit 2 or 3 threes a game. You're like, there's not 6-9 points right there. I get hit the free throw line a couple times, couple finishes. There's your 15 points like that. So I think that helped me a lot too, is the shooting. So
What he just said is brilliant. It's the message I see these high school kids struggle to score points. I go, let's just break this down. You want to average 15 points a game? Let's think about this. You're 6'5", you're athletic. Can you get 3 offensive rebounds a game, you think? I don't get 3. Okay. Can you put them back in? There's 6 points. You've done nothing. 6 points. Can you drive and get fouled to shoot 4 free throws a game? Yeah. Okay. There's 10 points in a game. Yeah. You're already there. You've done nothing. All of a sudden, you make a 3-pointer. So I love what he just said. Scoring the basketball is a lot more simple than kids like
people make it for sure.
So don't you have to figure out different ways, like especially for you, JC, like when people started figuring out who you were and then the shooter you were, did you have to figure out different ways to score? Just, I guess not develop your game, but just get more creative with how you're able to score?
That's how you get to 25 points a game. But you get to 10 to 15, if you just hustle, like I'm not a huge, I don't think Russell Westbrook's a great basketball player.
No.
But he's an athlete, and the dude takes advantage of all those little efforts, and he hustles like no one's business. And that's why he's Mr. Triple-Double King, because of how hard he plays. Mm-hmm. If you just get a kid that can go play hard and get 2 or 3 offensive rebounds and have the ability to put them back in, like I look at these high school kids, he's there was 6 points a game. How?
Yeah.
And that is
funny. I love that you say this. I do the same thing. I'm like, how? Like, it's just, I view it the same way.
Did you have to do the same thing, though, when teams scouted you? You're one of the best scorers, actually the best scorer on the team. Did you have to figure out different ways to score as well, though, and create more?
Yeah, and it's just, and be efficient. Like, the shots that you're open, you got to make. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like there's very seldom, like, times that me and JC were probably wide open, but when we are, usually not missing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if he gets 2 wide open threes a game, he's going to make them. Same thing, like, I would tell myself that, like, if I'm open, I got to make it, because I'm not going to get a lot of open looks. But at the same time, that's where you develop that, like you said, little in-between game, mid-range game. It's kind of dead in basketball nowadays, which I don't like. But if you watch the best players, they have an in-between game, which is like floaters, their little pull-ups, because you can't always get to the rim. So, hey, what are you going to do? Shoot a little floater, shoot a little pull-up. Got it. But now, like you said, that's where guys running at JC, I had to give him a shot fake, let him go by, reset, maybe 1 dribble pull up. That's some kind of stuff that I was developing too. Like, this generation hates the backboard. They hate it. Yeah. I used to score probably 4-6 points a game just using the backboard. Like, just shoot a bank shot right there. You got the angle,
So
because of your dad.
Also, you got an X2 guy. Like,
Yeah. I used to take a little one dribble pull up. If I was like at the elbow and I took one little dribble to pull up, there's a backboard. I'm going to use it. Boom, kiss it off the glass, put up there soft. With 4-6 points off the backboard right there. A little floater off the glass. These kids now be driving full court and lay it over the front of the rim and hit the back rim and it comes off. I'm like, well, just go to the side. And
Well, the problem is I bought basketball, use the backboard for the wrong reason. If it's going off the side of the backboard, I'm like, no, like use the square.
You can't be the women's announcer and say stuff like that.
I can't because I've seen the game.
good gracious, yeah.
How fast did it take for you to get to 1,000 points at Utah State? Do you remember?
Sophomore year.
Sophomore. Okay, and you were there by your junior year,
Yeah.
2019. And then once again, you were named the this very competitive Gosner Classic MVP. Did you guys make postseason? And
Stop with the air quotes. He's the Gosner Classic MVP.
JC, I watched the game. Your volume's gonna be like, this is
You get a bunch of home games. It's during Christmas break usually. It's like, it's great. Let's go. Let's hang out.
But would you rather be home instead of playing Sanaquich High School and beating them by 50? Like, I mean, you drop 30 and you're like, great, that was...
No. You drop 30, it doesn't matter who you play with.
30's hard to go. Still D1 team we were playing.
Really?
30's 30.
30's 30, man.
30's hard to get, but some kids will never do that. Some people will never do that in their career, you know? So it's like, you still got, the thing is, you still got to go put the ball in the hoop to score 30 points. And they know who he is.
But so you are, but
And they know-
for as office scores as you two are, is it really hard to get 30? Like, I mean, I ended up being genuinely serious. I got really 30.
Yeah.
Because you guys got 30 in your sleep, both of you.
It becomes easier like the more you the more you do it, it becomes easier because you find out the ways to score. You know, the first time you do it is kind of like, oh, I just did that, but then you do it, you score 20 again, and then you score 23, and then you score 25, and then you score 26, and it just like it becomes kind of easier because you figure out the ways to score. You know, like regardless of how they guard you, like you just know it's hard to explain. Like he was saying, like you just know where to go. You know the right play to make. Both smart, right? We understand the game, so we know like, hey, if I hit a 3, the next time is probably gonna come sprinting at me. I just made one. Like all I got to do now is show the ball, it'll go by me, or a little one dribble pull up. Like you just figure out the game. Knowing how the defender, like you always got to be like just one step ahead of the defender of how they're going to guard you most likely, and that's how you figure it out. So
You just take those little advantages. I think Jalen was really good at it in his career. Like you said, you get and me, I made a career out of running away from people. Like I never had the ball on a string, taking 8 dribbles to break someone down. I got 1 or 2 dribbles max. I liked what Jalen said about the efficiency. Like we were very efficient basketball players. So you give us the ball, 1, 2 dribble, we're gonna make a basket. And but you take those little advantages. They're chasing you. They're on your hip. They're on your back. You know you can't shoot it. So you just take one little dribble in the paint, shoot a little floater. You know, they get cut on the screen for a half second. You know you're gonna be open to shoot it. They split the gap. They go up the middle. You know you're gonna fake the corner, hit a corner 3. Like you just take the little advantages, and you're just playing a little. I've never used the word mind game, but you're just kind of being smarter than the person that's guarding.
Mm-hmm. I got to be really, really careful how I say this, but I feel like both of you are one of the 2 Aggies that probably got short end of the stick in regards of the roster that was built around you. Not the Coach Morrow's fault at all whatsoever, but you were the only Aggie your senior year to start all 31 games. Mm-hmm. And you once again led the team in scoring. JC, you are all too familiar with that role of being the guy that had the ball in his hands that would, you're in a rut, no one else can score except for you. And so when you look at that in your senior year, this was the case, definitely. How much pressure was it and how hard was it to have to be that guy that's like, I'm the only one who can score here against this, against these guys or against this defense? How frustrating was it for you guys?
I mean, it wasn't necessarily like frustrating for me. It's just like I just knew what I had to do to try to help the team win, right? Like I just knew that that's what I got to do to try to night in, night out, day in practice. Like this is what I have to do to try to be the best I can be to help the team win. Obviously, I wanted to win more as my senior year. I wish I would have played in the tournament, NCAA tournament. That was like the biggest thing that I feel like sucked, because I was something that I always wanted to do as a kid, but it's also like then you get in the situation, you realize how hard it really is to get to that situation and win that many games at a D1 program to make it to the tournament. So like all 64 of those 68 teams that make it, like they're good teams. So it's tough, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's frustrating. It's just it's just how the game goes, and it's crazy. But I think, like JC said, I think a big thing for me is like the consistency, the efficiency. Where if I'm most likely shooting 10 shots a game or 12 or whatever, I'm probably going to make 7, 8 of them. But nowadays I see some kids like, hey, they shoot 19 shots and score 23 points. I'm like, well, you should. You shot almost as many shots to score that many. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big thing too, is just like people just being efficient, taking good and bad shots, making the right play. I think that's what also kind of affects a lot of different people. But frustrating wise, I wouldn't say it was frustrating because, like you said, I'm still getting to do something that I was able to do that I loved, and playing the Spectrum is something that's, second to none. So I was like, every home game was awesome. Then we were in the Mountain West, and San Diego State was really good.
Yeah, like
UNLV, we used to be really good when we were there. New Mexico was really good. And so like even away game was also fun, So I just knew like, hey, I'm going to go play my hardest, play my best, and we got to live with the result, but I'm going to do what I can to try to win the game. So that's how I kind of looked at it. I wouldn't say it was frustrating. I still had a good time, honestly. I'm got to see some cool stuff, play some cool places. Got to go to Cancun like my senior year instead
Yall tournament team
of the Gausser Classic. So we got to go to Cancun instead. So it was fun. Play like Purdue and Texas Tech, some teams that we like never really play, right? So that's what I'm saying. That was what made it fun for me, is just being able to see different things, play different players, play nationally ranked teams and stuff. That's what made it fun for me. I think that's that step up that I lifted my game to and tried to get some of the teammates to, but it's also a different thing. It's different. A lot of people will try to figure it out differently, and I think people, it hits people differently. So
you were only one of 3 Aggies to go 3 straight years of leading the team in scoring, rebounds, and I believe it's assists as well. Mm-hmm. So you were literally doing everything for that team.
Yeah, I say one of 3 Aggies.
Yeah.
Who are the other 2?
Marvin Roberts and Gray Grant.
Yeah, you gotta go way back.
Yeah. You were doing. I mean, and it was the ball wasn't. I mean, I know the ball was in your hands a lot, but I mean, again, efficiency mattered, and for really, you shot above 50%. Like you were shooting really well about every way of the court. So, I feel bad for that guy. I just think about how great you guys were, and if they had. Like, if you had a Ty Wesley, if you had a J.C. Carroll sitting next to you, you are in the NCAA tournament.
You do winning games. If you played together,
games. You 200 court.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've asked you about it before, and you were so classy about it. I wish and I know it's that we can't be off the record, but I just sometimes want to be like, JC, you're the greatest that year put on a basketball uniform, and your senior year you go to the NIT and play Illinois State. Like, it's just not fair. Like, it's just not fair to have to be the guy that had to carry the team offensively to try and win basketball games.
It's not fair. My senior year, we had a crew. They just were young. I mean, we had freshman Ty Wesley that was just back from a mission.
Yeah.
We had freshman Tyler Newbold that was just back from a mission. We had Gary Wilkinson that was his first year out of junior college up here. And he played good, but there's some good games and bad games. Like, we had a crew. If we had one more year together, we would have made some better. They made noise after I left. Like, they were ranked nationally after I left. It was good, and if it could have been a fight, it would have been amazing. But we had a great foundation, just really young basketball players at that time.
Did you get any postseason basketball?
Nope. Didn't. Not one. Did I'll throw one. Yeah. And I was the same way. My senior year, like, Sam was back from his mission as a freshman. Kobe was just a freshman. Kobe McEwen was here that was just a freshman. Like, we had pieces. They were just young, trying to figure it out, And like we said, Mountain West was like, they were 4 or 5 ranked teams back then when I was playing. Like, brutal. Almost an NBA player on every team. Yeah. Back then, So they were trying to figure it out. But they were playing a lot as freshmen. They did good things. I knew Sam and Kobe were, like, going to be good at some point. But, it's freshmen learning on the go while I'm trying to also carry the team but teach them at the same time, too. So it's just a lot kind of going on, but like we had pieces too. It's just young guys trying to figure it out pretty much.
I know you guys got things to beat to here, so I'll keep this quick. But I do got to ask you, could Kobe, the biggest argument people would talk about all the time is, could Kobe and Sam exist on the court together? You being the basketball guy, seeing those two as a freshman, could they have existed on the court together if Kobe would have stayed?
Yeah, but they would have had to be in like an ego check thing for both.
Oh, really?
Like that's what happened. That's what happened. But like I think it would have been fine. Like I think it's the thing where you got to be able, like, it's hard to win games when you don't have 2 or 3 really good players nowadays in basketball, right? And I see guys that can do it. I like you see guys like as good examples in the NBA that you see them put on teams together and you're like, that's not going to work. Right. And then you see two guys again, and you're like, okay, they'll work because they probably sat down and had a conversation like, hey, if we want to win games, we gotta check each other, we gotta check ourselves, and this is what we gotta do, you know. And some people will do that, and some won't. I think they would have been able to do that, you know. Knowing the guy that I know of, Sam, I'm close to Sam, right? I know he's very chill and laid back.
Yeah,
I know he would have been like that. I know Kobe's more of like a go-getter, more, you know, guy like that. So I think it would have taken a little bit of time for them to mesh. But I think it's something that would have been doable. You know, I wish I would have played with Sam when he was older too. When I was like in my career, because I think he's a guy that can score, but is not afraid to make like the right play and stuff like that too. Which is I'm kind of the same way. I like to score, of course, but I also like making the right play and winning games. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of, I think it could have worked out, but it would have had to been like a personal situation where they got to sit down and really mesh it out together. Of like, hey, this is what we got to do if we want to win games and stuff like that.
Did you retire your senior year? When?
My sophomore year.
Can you tell me that story?
After my sophomore, yeah, it was like we were just coming back. I want to say it was against Fresno. We were coming back from Fresno and we were getting ready to get off the bus and stuff. And he was just like, "Hey, I'm just gonna let you guys know, like this, I'm probably done. Like I'm most likely done after this season and stuff." So we kind of knew before the season was gonna end, but there was probably like 6 games left maybe. And he's like, "Hey, look, I'm done after this year. It's just what it's going to be." I met with him personally because like that was one of the main reasons I went to Utah State. It's like, I want to play for you. You know, I want to get taught by you. I want to coach by you. And he felt really bad. He's like, honestly, if I were to stay coaching, that's 2 years, it'd only just be because like I want to be able to like coach you through your career and stuff. But I think he just,
Where's he done though?
yeah, he was just, I think he was just done, you know. And again, it's, you know, I think when you know it's time, right? And I think he just had got to that point. And I'm like, hey, you know, I respect your decision. I'm not going to go anywhere. You know, I think that was another thing that people were kind of scared of. Like, well, if I'd make you retire, like you're probably going to transfer. And I was like, no, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay here 4 years. This is what I came to do. You know, it's why I wanted to play. I'm gonna stay loyal. So, but I knew I was going to be there for 4 years. But yeah, I think at that time, I think he just knew that it was just time for him to be done. You know, so
I've never heard that story, and I'm glad I did because as I looked at Coach Morrill, when he was going to be done. Like, I even picture him just one day in practice just going, that's it. I got no more. And just walking out. Like, that's how I picture his career ending. Like, that's it. I don't have any more. And just walking away. So, you know, given the heads up of 6 games, probably seems like for me, that's was a lot for him to be like, hey, guys, this is going to be it. And I know he put everything into the last 6 games, but it seems very true to what I would have expected.
When did you find out?
Just with everyone.
Did he call you or text you or something, you think?
Nope.
No?
So I just found out when it came out in the whatever.
Were you shocked at all? Was there any shock factor at all for you?
I mean, just like, oh, like that's it. Like, but no, not. He was here for 17 years. He coached forever, won tons of games, stuff. No, I was like, hey, there comes a time when it's time to move on.
yeah.
You went to Milwaukee. I think it was an undrafted, right? Free agent. What was that conversation like? How did that all come about, Jalen?
It was like they kind of called me because the Hawks were like thinking of drafting me as like one of the very last like picks, and my agent and stuff was kind of like, you know, if they do that, then like we don't have as many options. If you go like undrafted, you can kind of take like the best decision for you, kind of thing of like teams that might want you. And Milwaukee was going to give me the best decision, so that's kind of how that came about, where I was kind of like, okay, I'm fine with being undrafted then, you know, and going that route and stuff like that. So that's how that, and that was the first year that the NBA started doing like the 2-way contracts where you have guys on like the G League and the team. So that was like the first year one of their players assigned that 2-way contract where I was going to be, you know, kind of bouncing back and forth kind of thing. So that was cool. And I thought that was kind of, and honestly, like I thought I did personally probably have my best workout when I went and worked out with Milwaukee. So I was satisfied to see that. Like I told my dad and everything, I'm like, I feel like that was probably my best like professional workout I did. I had probably like 2-3 where I'm like, okay, like that's solid. Like I was playing against good guys that were, but it's just different. You know, I came from a small place. I was playing against guys from Kentucky and stuff. I'm like, I'm better and can compete with these guys, you know? So like it was fun because then it lets you, these guys are getting all the love nationally. And you know, when you come from a little mid-major like us, you don't really see guys like that until you go do some workouts like that and you realize like, dude, I'm just as good, if not better than these guys that went to these bigger schools, you know? So that was one of those workouts where I went against some good guys that ended up being good. And yeah, it was like, so Milwaukee's like, yeah, we'll take it. We want to do like a 2-way contract. Agent kind of explained that to me and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good and stuff. So that was the situation that ended up being the best for me. Of course, obviously, I could have played on the Jazz. They would have been like, yeah, that's sick, but that's kind of how that played out. Most of the East Conference teams wanted me. Only did like 2 workouts with Western Conference teams. So it's kind of different. Like Boston, 76ers, Magic, Bucks, they were all good. I did, obviously did do a workout with the Jazz. I'm right here, right? But on the other Western teams were like the Thunder and T-Wolves pretty much. So kind of more on the East Coast, but it was good. So it was a really cool experience too.
Talk about the day you wanted to stop playing basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when did you say, hey, it's over, I've had fun, but it's time to...
The biggest thing was just like anxiety and depression for me, which kind of crazy when I think back on it. I had it all through at Utah State. I just didn't really do anything about it. It's hard to say because like I was, when I'm up here, I'm like on billboards or on the side of the bus and stuff. So when I was feeling that same way, I just kind of didn't really do anything about it. I felt it every single year now when I look back on it through all of college, freshman year all the way up to my senior year. I just had never done anything about it, and I wish I would have like said something either to like my friends or family or gotten help, because I feel like that would have changed my whole NBA career for me. But once I kind of got out there, it was totally different. And that's when a lot of it kind of just weighed on me, of the anxiety and stuff and depression, where I'm kind of like, dude, this is something that I need like professional help with. And I felt like the best way to do that was when I needed to be around like friends and family that I know who cared with me. So that's why I came back. I had like 2 opportunities after I stopped playing. Like I had the Pistons contact me, and the Bucks again, actually, they're wanting to see if I was able to continue, like wanting to play again about a year after. But at that point, I was kind of like, like I've kind of started training some kids and I kind of like this, like I've kind of really liked doing this. Then I had some parents asking me if I wanted to ever coach. I'm like, not really. Like I don't really care to coach. More people kept asking me, and I'm like, okay, well, shoot, let me put some teams together, see what happens. And then when I did that, the training and the teams kind of took off, and I kind of started enjoying being around the kids and helping them develop and getting kids exposure from here and going and competing with other teams and looking at basketball from a different standpoint of coaching rather than playing. And I kind of just fell in love with that too. So like, I think it was a little bit of a mixture of all that at once, to be honest, trying to figure out what's going on, but still play, right? I still play with the kids, and I like playing with our high school kids because they don't get that tired, so you can kind of get up and down with them and stuff. But so that's kind of how that all happened. I just knew that I probably needed to come home and get like real professional help of when, and honestly, as crazy as it seems, 2017 is not that long ago, but back then, even like the professional teams didn't have like mental health coaches or psychologists or anything to go to back then, but now you look at it, each team has like someone that's for that now, because I think it was becoming more common, right? And back then, 8 years ago, they didn't even have that. So I had to come back home and get the professional help I needed that way, where if that was the case, it might have been something different too, but everything, happens for a reason too. So it's just kind of how it went.
Do you ever go into a game at Utah State in the Spectrum and not feel mentally right? Like we had like anxiety or depression, and you go and went and played a game?
No, like the biggest thing is like that was like my escape was basketball. Okay. I didn't feel it when I was playing or like practicing. It was mainly like in between doing stuff like that too, and everything like that. So basketball was kind of like same thing when I was in Milwaukee. I was like, I would go and compete and have good practices, good, everything was good. But then it's like the second that I was done playing, it's like here comes all the thoughts, all the bad stuff, where me at 20, 21 years old at the time to graduating at 21. I also didn't know what it was, to be honest. I had no idea what I was feeling. I was like, what's going on, So I ended up having to figure kind of all of it out on my own, and then therapy and get professional help, that kind of stuff. So I was lost for 4 or 5 years, not knowing anything that was going on, because I was just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe everybody feels this way. I mean, just brush it aside, whatever kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. And so it was just kind of different. But now, I wasn't even open to talking about it like this with people, because I just was like, dude, I'm a superstar player. I'm not supposed to be feeling like this. You know what I mean? So like, I didn't ever say anything about it. But now I like to talk about it because I feel like more people feel it and need to hear it, that, there are a lot of people that feel that same way, and it's like you can overcome it and do things. So there's a lot of guys that I think in the NBA that feel that same way, but some end up making it work. And I see a lot of guys that say like, hey, they stopped playing for personal reasons or whatever. And I'm like, most of the time it's probably like, yeah, probably something along those lines, where they just were like, I need to step away for a second, get some help. So I think that's kind of, but like I said, I don't regret anything. I'm not like, gosh, I wish I would still playing or whatever. Like, I think everything happens for a reason. I'm very happy and satisfied that I still get to be around like the kids here and work with them, and still doing something basketball related every day.
BYU just signed a kid for $3.5 million in NIL money. You being a business savvy guy with great hair back in the day, give me Jalen Moore, junior year, the fro and everything. How much are you making in NIL money, or how much are you demanding in NIL money? Be honest. Don't you dare lie to me.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, because I know he sees some of these kids out there making like $2 million, where I'm like, dude, I'm way better than that dude was. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, but the hard thing is, I really liked playing at Utah State. So my biggest thing would be like, I want to get paid well that I can stay here, but hopefully find like things on the side as well that's going to kind of reimburse what Utah State wouldn't be able to potentially pay me. If that
wish you've been able to stay at Utah State though all 4 years if the money would have been coming from BYU, Utah. I'm not a huge BYU dude. I'd never go to BYU. Yeah.
So like that's the thing where it's like, I mean, they could try to convince me. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But like Utah, like, yeah, I mean, sure, of course, like, or like in between, like when Stu retired, of course, like Utah and Baylor and stuff like reached out to me and stuff. It's whatever, because that's what the big schools used to do anyway. I know it's against the rules, right? We'd all do. They were doing that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, shoot, if they would have thrown 2-3 mil, it's like it's hard
to say no. Hard to say changing money for you guys.
Exactly. So it's hard. It would be hard to say no, even if you go for a year, right? Even if you go to Baylor for that year and you're like, oh, that didn't work out, I'll just go back in the transfer portal. But I still got the 3 mil that they promised me. That's what kids are doing. That's the crazy thing about the college sports now. Like, hey, they're like, I'll go try it out for a year. If I don't like it, I'll just go in the transfer portal, transfer again, and I don't
get that down,
and I get the money. Oh, that's the thing about it, because they're actually signing like contracts, So I'm seeing football players like so and so signed a 2-year, $9 million contract. I'm like, in college. Like, they're signing contracts. Like, so I'm like, oh, but he's there for 2 years. Like, I'll take the 10 mil.
Do you ever take like a college athlete and say, hey, let me help you with your money so you don't make dumb, like, you ever want to just take college kids and say, let me help you with your money so you don't make a dumb decision?
All the time. That's part of
what do they say?
You had 3 seasons wealth. They say thank you.
Yeah. Do they take the help though? Oh, yeah. Like at 18, 19 to you?
Well, you're talking 7-figure contracts. It's like, hey, let's get you set up for life with that. Let's go.
What's your biggest advice to them when they have that much money and they're that young? Like, I mean, when you say, hey, we're going to take care of you, we're going to make sure we do this thing right to help you invest in your money. What was your biggest advice to them though with that money?
Yeah, I mean, all right, biggest advice. Look, it's kind of it's first of all, it's like, look, let me take your money concerns off your mind. So you worry about basketball. Your livelihood, your future is a basketball. You need to spend time doing basketball. We're going to put you on a very modest payment or salary that you get. Everything else, we're going to put into an investment account. We're going to invest. We're going to make good decisions. We're going to live within a budget. And so, because once we get someone to $3-4 million, they're pretty much bulletproof for the rest of their life if we manage their money well. So it's a race to millions, it's a race to 3 million with these kids, and setting them up with some basic budgeting principles and learning to live with some discipline, patience, and a little sacrifice now is going to set them up for the rest of their lives.
Mason Faltzler, local scabby kid just like you, playing at Utah State. What have you seen out of him? What stood out to you?
I love it. Like I've been close with him since he's been at Skyview. So I thought the improvements that he's made too consistently, like with his jumper too, I think was a big thing. He was a kind of very similar to me. Shot more in high school than I did, but I felt like he was very athletic, could get to the rim, get to the free throw line, do all that at will in high school. So I think seeing him now with a consistent 3-point shot, and just being like, he just plays hard. That's what he just plays so hard. Like that's my biggest thing is like his motor. That's like JC said, that's where he makes up for a lot of things. Like if he makes a mistake, he's going to get it back because he plays so hard. And so he's not scared to make mistakes. He's fearless. I love that kind of stuff. And like I said, his offensive game has came a long way. Obviously he's got a knack for getting steals, rebounding for his size. But I think skill wise, but the thing is, I look at him, he's got that nice little floater game in between. He can finish at the rim. He can shoot a consistent 3. That's what makes him so hard to guard offensively. So I'm hoping that to see him just continue to improve, each season. By the time he's a senior, I think he's going to be very solid,
Jalen, it's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hold on.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yes, please.
Okay, so look, I got a chance to go to a lot of concerts. Not a lot, but I go to some. I've gone to like Lee Bryce, LMFAO, Rihanna, and I go watch these concerts, and almost all the time I leave more impressed with the person that's up there. I went to Justin Bieber, only concert I've been to where I left less impressed with the person. I say this because I've been around and about Jalen Moore for 15 years. I've called him, we've talked, we've interacted with different people. This is the longest I've sat down with Jalen Moore. Kind of like the concert, when I go to Rihanna, I've left more impressed with Jalen Moore
Thank you.
after this conversation than I previously was. And I had a lot of respect for him before. So, Jalen, you're amazing.
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you. I
Super
appreciate
impressed.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, and tell us about a little bit your program, your camps, and how people can get onto this, or at least look up your camps if they want to participate at all.
Yeah, so best way would be like email. First, I want to email would be that. So my email would be nextlevelbasketball435@gmail.com, or like our website will have everything on there, which is nextlevel435.com. And that'll have all the skills training, all the teams and stuff, all the coaches that we have, all that kind of stuff will be on the website. So nextlevel435.com is what I would recommend. You can contact us through there and everything. So, but that'll have everything that we do on there. So
Can I contact you to be my color analyst for women's basketball? I want you two both on. I think it'd be fun to have you two. Yeah, let's do it. Jalen, thank you again. Thank you. Honestly, one of the best. For Jalen Moore, Jaycee Carroll, I'm Ajay South, and thanks for listening to Unequal.
Hi, this is Karen Nielsen with Guild Mortgage in Logan, Utah. Beyond great rates, we're committed to ongoing customer service even after your loan closes. We want you to experience knowledge, communication, and amazing customer service for a lasting relationship. Make Guild Mortgage your trusted partner.